What really bothers me is that when people are so up here in the 5D and they're in their higher level of consciousness, that they're talking to people who are here in their process. And to tell someone who really is in their trauma and in their stories and in their pain that you just need to forgive someone, it's very gaslighting and it's very negating.
Hey, soul family. Welcome to the Alive and Awake podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kay, and I have spent the last 20 years teaching people how to work with their wounds and overcome their greatest fears so they can learn how to thrive in a world where they were only taught to conform. Each week, we will dive deep into the practical, the spiritual, and the mystical so I can teach you how to do the inner work to know yourself, trust yourself, and eventually love yourself enough to create a world where you feel fully alive, awake, and free. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode. Ready? Let's dive in.
Welcome to another solo episode, everyone. Thank you for continuing to follow me and for supporting me and all the messages that you keep sending me that are lighting a fire under me to keep doing some solo episodes. I feel that there is so much value that Spirit continues to prompt me to offer you. And today, I have to be honest, it's a heavy one. But I also feel that it's such a valuable one for people who are called to do their inner work and to rise into a higher level of consciousness. And the topic that I feel called to talk about today is forgiveness. And this came to me as a download as I was listening to my last episode on how I really dove deep into my father wound and how I worked really hard on forgiving him for the things that have happened to me in my life and how he chose to treat me when I was a child. So, first, as a disclaimer, I want to say that forgiveness is something that is a very, very individual journey. Nothing drives me more crazy than when a client will go and see someone like some spiritual teacher or a massage therapist or someone who does alternative medicine, and they push forgiveness on to my client. It makes me so upset because it makes the client feel like they're doing something wrong if they haven't gotten to a place inside to forgive their abuser or forgive what happened to them or forgive their ex-husband or whatever. And it almost feels like it's this forced thing. Oh, you just need to forgive, or you just need to forgive, or you just need to forgive. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's slow the F down and take a second to understand that this is a process and it is like an onion and it comes in layers and it's a very individual journey for people to choose to embark on. And so I want to talk about that process with you today because it is so hard to forgive someone who isn't asking for forgiveness or who isn't owning up to what they did to you or what they did to hurt you or did wrong. They lack accountability, they deny, they deflect, they shame, they shift the blame. They do all of these things to make it seem like what happened was okay. And because we are often empathetic beings and we're in our heart center, we're like, how the hell can they not get it? Right. So to forgive someone that doesn't take accountability and that doesn't ask for forgiveness is one of the hardest things that we can do as a human being having a spiritual experience. So, wherever you are in that process, I hope that today I'm able to break it down for you so that you can see the value in working on doing that. Because what it really is, it's about freeing your own energy, right? When you continue to hold on to the pain and to the hurt or the shame, then what that is it's an energetic tie, meaning it's an emotional bond that we still give that person to have power over us. And anything that has power over us puts us in a lesser weakened state where we cannot then stand in our true power, in our Christed power, which is a higher level of consciousness that most of us souls incarnated in this time to work on attaining to. So, What really bothers me is that when people are so up here in the 5D and they're in their higher level of consciousness, that they're talking to people who are here in their process about they're still in their root. They're still in their like sense of security and safety in this world. And to tell someone who really is in their trauma and in their stories and in their pain that you just need to forgive someone, it's very gaslighting and it's very negating. So I encourage you that to not use that language. And if you're around someone that does, be very clear about the energetic place that you're in and say, I'm not there yet. Thank you for that advice. I'll take it into consideration, but I'm in my own process and I'm in my own journey. And I know that my soul is leading me the way, which is exactly what was true for me. And I feel like when you start to understand the energetics of the emotion, you want to forgive because you don't want to be tied to that situation, circumstance, or person anymore. Because you want to be free. You want to feel clear and you want to be in a neutral state. Meaning that when I think about the situation that happened to me, or I could just be very, very blunt and specific about my father, if you listen to my last episode, when I think about what my father did to me when I was a child and he showed me the deer and said he shot Rudolph, like that to me seems something like it's unforgivable. The way that he wanted to hurt me on purpose and the way that he wanted to essentially like cut me off as a child, which made me feel incredibly unwanted, unimportant, not even like a human being, an object, all of those things. But until I worked on forgiving that act, I would hold on to that energetically and I would keep attracting partners that would treat me in that way to reactivate the wound for me to overcome, alchemize, rise in my power, and say no more. So, what we don't acknowledge and what we don't choose to work through, we do keep attracting because our higher self doesn't want us to hold on to any pain. It wants us to see ourselves as this really beautiful, majestic being that's creative and empowered and can use this 3D world and matrix of reality to fulfill our purpose and to create a life that we really enjoy and that we want to be living. So, what happens essentially is that we need to look at the things that we still have an emotional tie to, or like when we think about them, it causes a reaction inside. That is a key indicator of what our soul is asking us to look at and to forgive. Now, I also want to let you know that forgiveness doesn't ever, ever, ever mean that what happened was okay or that you're justifying it. No, right? Like it was not okay that my grandfather sexually abused me. It was not okay that my father didn't protect me and he treated me the way that he did. It was not okay that my mother did certain things that were really difficult for me to digest as a young girl. Like those things never ever were okay. But what the truth is that we have to look at why our higher self would choose for us to endure these certain things for us to work through before we came into this human body. And so, what I mean by that is that your soul had we'll just say a conversation to make it easy with God, with the creator of the world that had a mission or purpose for us to incarnate into this body. For me, that was I need to endure all this trauma and I need to endure the masculine wounding. And I want to take this on so that I can do my work on the ground level to help women remember their worth, help them remember their power, and help them reclaim their sovereignty as we shift into this 5D reality matrix and a new way of being here on earth in this lifetime. So I had a series of things that I needed to work through in order to even be able to talk to you today. So when I look at it from a higher perspective, it's like, of course, I would choose this father that's 16 years old that didn't want a child and didn't know how to treat women and came from his own lineage of a ton of masculine wounding in order for me to experience that and overcome it as a powerful soul and being in this life. Now, you have to really adopt the truth that you are a spiritual being and that you are here on your own unique mission in order to even be able to take that into consideration. Right. So let's just say if your soul on a higher level wanted to work through some of these things, what would that be? And then it's going through and looking at what did I learn from that darkness? And if any of that were different, how would I be different today? Because when you look back, you can see the threads of how the pain and the trauma really made you into the person that you are. And the person that you are is perfect and divine and loved and powerful and doing your own work internally to be able to raise the vibration and the frequency on the planet right now. Like God itself would not be complete if you were not here on earth at this time. So then we have to be able to look back and say, all right, yes, it was painful. And I need to process that pain in a very, very human and visceral way and just honor my feelings about what happened to me. And I have to give myself the right to have righteous rage and be pissed off about what occurred because it wasn't okay on a human level, right? It was very demoralizing and made me feel inhuman and made me feel worthless. So we have to give ourselves permission to go through the ray of emotion and the anger and the grief and the loss and all of the things that we experience in our human 3D body to even be able to get to the place of forgiveness on a higher self level. Like saying it in your mind isn't the same as feeling it in your body, right? So I can say, yes, on a very cognitive level, I forgive my father. And there's another thing that's just coming to me now, which is what when Jesus was on the cross and he was getting nailed and crucified, he knows that he was going through the death and he knows the purpose that he had laid before him was forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And that statement has stuck to me so strongly and so viscerally when I think about my own life. Because the truth is that people who abuse or misuse or are in that lower level of consciousness have completely forgotten that they are divine sovereign beings and advanced souls. They have literally been brought down by this 3D darkness and matrix that we're under. Call it whatever you want. Call it the Luciferian matrix, call it Satan, call it the devil, call it whatever you want to choose to call that darkness that lives on our earth plane. They've been so overtaken by that darkness that they could actually harm and torture and get joy out of perpetrating and doing really horrible things. They're not in touch with their heart. They're not emotionally safe and they don't know spirit. They're so disconnected within that they can do these acts to hurt another human. And so when Jesus says that on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, what he meant was they forgot who they are in truth. They've forgotten you. They have forgotten that there is nothing real on this planet except for love. And so it's hard to explain, but if you picture the earth as this sphere, and then we draw these horizontal lines through it, each layer or level on earth has a consciousness, right? So say, let's just say level one dimension is like the satanic rituals and the child abuse and the things that go on with human trafficking and all that demonic layer is one level of consciousness to be on. Let's say level three is this 3D matrix where we are tied into fear, scarcity, lack, control, not enoughness. Something's wrong with us. We're very programmed, right, in this reality and in this matrix. And then level 5D of consciousness, which is what the earth plane is moving into, but we all have to be able to do our own work and remember who we are to get there, is unity consciousness, meaning we are one with each other. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ. We are all here on a human journey, assisting each other on our unique soul's mission to ascend into a higher level of consciousness, of God consciousness, of Christ consciousness, meaning there's no such thing as separation. I and my Father are one, meaning we are made in the likeness and the image of God. Our particles, our organs, the stuff that we're made of in our body is of God, is of the earth mother, and is of each other. And this level of consciousness is looking at another person that abused us and says, oh my gosh, you have forgotten who you are. You are so far from the truth of your divinity that you could actually harm me or try to hurt me in this way, or hurt your child in this way, or whatever that is. It's we have to be able to rise into that level and in that layer to even think about forgiving what has happened to us. Right. And when we can honestly look at that soul, and I'll just continue to use my father as an example because that's relevant to this conversation. If I can look at that and I can say, he was so lost, right? His soul was so far from his human body that he was overtaken by this energy on this earth plane that infiltrated his father's line and was so wounded that he could do that to his daughter, his own blood, his own child, right? That is a level of disconnection and separation that I will never be able to understand. But what I do understand that is as a soul, he is suffering immensely, right? So holding on to anger and hate and like pain for him doing the things that he did, it doesn't serve me. He's suffering enough, right? He has his own journey and his own dark nights of the soul that he needs to go through in this lifetime in order to be able to ascend and alchemize and all of that. But the beautiful thing is as a light worker in human form, what we don't understand is that as we actually rise into our power and into our level of consciousness, any single person that's ever been attached to us energetically benefits. Because when we forgive, when we become one with the creator, and when we choose to rise into our own divinity and we cut those cords of attachment, then what happens is as above, so below. And what that means is that any single person that's ever been attached to you and has a contract with you also rises in their consciousness too. And if what we're working toward is all becoming one human family, one heartbeat on this planet, when we get there, the darkness cannot stay anymore. So we don't get to a higher level of consciousness by holding on to the hate, by holding on to the anger and the rage and the resentment and the pain. Because actually, what that does is it lets that energy live longer because we think that, yes, we're justified in the way that we feel. And often we are. But what happens is we keep regurgitating and we keep playing things in our head and we keep having arguments in our head or we keep getting angry. And that is no different than the energy that harmed us. So we're actually perpetuating the dark energy to live on the earth plane when we're staying in that lower level of consciousness. That's why it's so important for us to do our inner work so we can free ourselves and clear ourselves and get into a neutral state. And that when we talk about the things that happen to us, we talk about it from a place of neutrality, and we talk about it from a place of telling the story in a different way, right? Like for me, for the father wound, it's I chose my father. And the truth is in the spirit realm, he's an incredibly powerful being that dumbed himself down to play the role that he needed to play for me so that I could become who I was meant to be in this lifetime, which was planned for decades ago, of all the karma that I endured and all the worthlessness I felt in past lives with all of the men. This lifetime was planned for me to wake up and do what I'm doing right now. So it's so much deeper than our human brain can even comprehend. And if we can get to that level of looking at that person and looking at it as a way of they sacrificed themselves to play the role that they played for me so that I could rise into my divinity and fulfill my soul's purpose. How can you not forgive that and meet that with love? And again, this is a process and it's a lot to digest. So I encourage you just to meet yourself with where you're at. But I can guarantee that if you're resonating with me and you're listening to this channel and you liked what I've had to say so far, there's a part of you that's ready for that. There's a part of you that doesn't want to hold on to the anger anymore and doesn't want to hold on to the pain anymore, right? There's a part of you that knows that if you continue to rise and every single time a thought of anger or hate or resentment comes in, you choose a different language, you choose to come back into your heart center and you choose to be loving and you choose to be kind and you choose to be neutral, then you are doing the work that we need to do on the planet. It's a big damn job that we have at this time to continue to align ourselves with really our femininity, because the feminine is, yes, she has a darkness, but she also has an immense capacity for love. And love can do so much more than anger can do. And I cannot tell you how choosing this path has shown and played out as true in my own personal life. My relationship with my ex-husband is better, with his wife is better, with my mother is better, with my father is better. Every single person that is attached to me, there is more peace and harmony and light because I chose to rise above all the stories and all the lies and all of the victimization that I felt like I was under, because I know that that isn't the truth of who I am. And really looking at it as I need to forgive myself for the pain that I chose to endure in this life on a soul level. I need to get clear about why my higher self would choose this for me. And once you get to that place, then you have the capacity to forgive other. So forgive self for putting your huge, immense soul and powerful, like starlight energy into this like condensed human 3D matrix body where you're enduring a ton of pain and forgetting that you're one with all creation. So forgiving yourself for that and really extracting the lessons and extracting the truth around what your soul actually came here to endure and overcome so that you can, do what you need to do on the planet. Then you can get to forgiveness of other, right? It's a really high level of awareness that we're trying to overcome, right? This demonic, this lower evil, like reptilian, Luciferian energetics that's infiltrated our planet, we are working on rising above. And it takes each individual to choose a higher path and a higher way. So if you're there, thank you. I encourage you to continue to face the pain, face the shame, let yourself feel whatever you need to feel, and choose a higher path, because it takes every single one of us to come back together, right? Like the creator, God itself, split itself into many little human beings in order to rise and become one again. And when we think of it that way, that there's no accidents, that there's a bigger thing going on here, then we can find it in our hearts to forgive those people who will never ask for forgiveness or never admit to what they did wrong because of their own wounding and their inability to do the deeper work. So I hope that this episode was really valuable to you. I hope that you continue to meet yourself with the utmost compassion and grace and really work with wherever you are at. I know that this is a hard subject, and I know that it is really difficult if you've gone through sexual trauma and physical trauma and a lot of pain. But I can assure you that the path to freedom and the path to really allowing your energy to be cleared from that karma and that trauma is a higher ascension path of forgiveness. If you need help with this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I always offer 30-minute consultation calls. You can check out my website to see what I offer for my coaching packages. I also have a new worthiness wound evaluation that you can drop in and check out to see what stuff might still be coming up in you that is making you feel unworthy of love, unworthy of money, unworthy of healthy relationships, or whatever it is that you desire in your heart. You are worthy of it all, but it is learning how to choose yourself and know how strong and how powerful and how resilient you really are as a soul. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a review so that this information can get out there to people who need it the most. And remember, you are more powerful than you will ever even know. So just by choosing a different thought and choosing a higher way, you are changing the planet. I love you so much. Thank you.